Now the format for our discussion today will be that the first part, about another 40 minutes or so, your moderator, that's me, where I will quiz the panelists. There is no formal presentation. Then there will be the second round, in which you ladies and gentlemen can quiz this panel. Now my panel is very eminent. On my left is Ambassador Sharat Sabharwal, and only 2 days ago his piece on Pakistan, NAWAZ Sharif, would answer some of the questions that I have raised. He has written a very interesting book called India-Pakistan Conundrum, Managing a Complex Relationship. And he's one of the few Indian ambassadors to Pakistan who is actually advocates repair in relationship between India and Pakistan. Lieutenant General Kamal Davar, on my left, is former DG TIA, which is DG ISI equivalent, I would say, but he would say no. And the guy introduced me as Major General Ashok K.Mehta, retired. So, sorry if... So she is a distinguished fellow with Center for AFR Studies, and believe it or not, she's written 8 books, right? 8 books on Pakistan, and she's working on the 9th, and she's only 25. But it's tremendous, 8 books on Pakistan and working on Afghanistan.
Look, 25.
One thing which is very, very unpredictable about Pakistan at the moment as I see it, will NAWAZ Sharif return? Will NAWAZ Sharif be able to survive his full term in case he gets elected, provided there is an election in which he can also stand? As we all know, I think, now to come to your question specifically, I think it has been a fixed match between NAWAZ Sharif and the POK army and the judiciary. As you know, the judiciary is also facilitated NAWAZ Sharif's comeback, because NAWAZ Sharif has a slew of cases against him. And thus I do feel that there is a bit of a fixed match, because Imran Khan, who's otherwise also has over 200 cases against him, he's in jail, and now only today's paper said that he's going to be tried in an open court, this, that and the other. But as far as NAWAZ Sharif is concerned, who still has a lot of cases against him, and his lawyers are trying to get him off these cases so that he can fight this February 8th election for the Prime Ministership of Pakistan. So I feel that NAWAZ Sharif's match is definitely fixed, because Shehbaz Sharif had got quite close to the army. And NAWAZ Sharif, if you look at his past record, he's been PM for three times earlier. He did display a streak of independence as far as governance, as far as foreign policy is concerned, and he has been a favorite, but not yet a total favorite of the POK army. So I feel that though the match is fixed, it will be a matter of time that NAWAZ Sharif will come out in the open.
I have a question for all the...
Your name?
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Wang Kohli. I'm retired, and I'm right now Executive Editor with India Strategic. I also work with a social media platform, Tactical Astra. My question is to all the 3 panelists. The underlying thing before I ask the question is that maybe we have missed the elephant in the room, and that is China, briefly mentioned by General Mehta, but we've missed it. My first question is to the panelist, Shalini ma'am. Ma'am, who does China vote for? So to say, NAWAZ Sharif was the main discussion point. Is China rooting for NAWAZ Sharif? The entire gambit has changed after Galwan. We have, so to say, changed the entire structure and how our forces are deployed, even in J&K and also in the hinterland. Obviously, China has a massive stake after the Israel war and also after the Ukraine war. But we haven't touched upon that. Your views, ma'am, please.
Baseen, I spent 20 years in Kabul. I'm an independent analyst. I was in Kabul, by the way, when the Prime Minister went to Lahore. He inaugurated the parliament in Kabul. And I was there at the airport. So I'm personally have a view on that. I totally agree with his view. Since after 2014-15, the dynamics have changed with the Iron Brother concept between China and Pakistan. See, the influence in Pakistan is, you are all talking about internal factors, you know. The external influence in Pakistan, we know how the previous Ladla was, they call him Ladla, you know, the selected one was thrown out. And if you remember when Imran Khan kept refusing the Fauj and came to power, and Nawaz Sharif made a statement, just tweeted that you were the new Ladla, and he said you were the previous Ladla. So the previous Ladla is coming back to power, okay? And this Ladla, as he rightly pointed out, made the deals with the Chinese on CPEC during the BRI projects. So my two questions are quickly. What is the US-China rivalry? How does that play out? And in light of Afghanistan now under Taliban's rule, and with Pakistan having its own problems with the TTP and other factors, you know, how is that influence the India-Pakistan relationship?
My question is addressed to Shalini and to Ambassador. All of you have been talking about the fragmented field of power in Pakistan. Particularly, as you said, there are shifting power blocks. I'm not saying that there isn't the pyramid with the army establishment on top, but all kinds of people are reworking their power equations, particularly at a time when the economy is actually in serious distress. And I would hope that there is some really serious thinking about it. And I invoke here phrases like geoeconomics said by Bajwa earlier on. Are these elements likely to impact maybe the need for us to re-examine our bland iteration of certain positions which we took for granted on Pakistan? And General Saab, here particularly I refer to your introductory comments, where it was like doing a frame which we have heard for maybe decades. Is that any longer still relevant? Is there any possibility of, in fact, a shake-up? I know these are things, I mean, we are all speculating. You're speculating about third terms, but I would think that this might be an opportunity, and therefore many of the suggestions that have come on the table, particularly the need for more aggressive diplomacy and so forth.
Thank you.
Maybe this is an opportunity.
I think a very pertinent point which you raised about the US-China rivalry and how does that impact. Just very quickly, so you know Pakistan has been extremely smart diplomatically. They have managed these contradictory relationships very well throughout their whole. You know, they have been the ally of US and they've managed to get so much money from the Chinese, and that will continue. One is what General Davar said, that the US looks after its own interests, so they have never interfered in this domain of China-Pakistan relation. And for the Chinese, what I feel, that it's they see it as a plus point, Pakistan having support from United States. Because if they get the money, if they get the support system, it kind of relieves burden off the Chinese shoulders. So I feel this whole relationship will continue and they will manage this.
Right. As far as Pakistan-US relationship is concerned, as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, the State Department, says something, very sternly against Pakistan Army and their, support of terrorism. But the Pentagon has a slightly different view, a softer view as far as Pakistan is concerned. And they have, glossed over a lot of the foibles and the atrocities which the Pakistani army has done on various people. So, but I'd like to mention this something what Sam Basin just asked about the Taliban. The Pakistanis, as you all know, have been, their eternal quest for that expression. They wanted a strategic depth as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But strategic depth does not only mean geographic location or a military base, or you can switch your air forces in depth localities. So strategic depth also entails the support of the Taliban, the locals, and all that. And the Pakistanis are very gleeful when the US made their inglorious exit from Afghanistan, thinking that the Taliban will now do what they want them to do. But it has proven that the Taliban, who are Pashtuns, as we all know, predominantly Pashtuns, the Taliban are fiercely independent people, and they couldn't care less about Pakistan misusing them for their own support, including as also the TTP, which is anti-Pakistan, creating a lot of problems on the border, hitting at their installations, army installations and all, also have some linkages with the Taliban. And so Pakistan is in a bit of a soup as far as Afghanistan is concerned. And I'd just like to say one sentence, since we're running very short of time. America has always followed its own interests blindly and bluntly. But I think if there is one place where India must, get closer to America, is Afghanistan, because our interests are shared, as also to keep the Chinese out of Afghanistan to the extent possible.
Yeah, Shalini.
Enlightened. Pakistan now is increasingly a threat to us in conjunction with China. That has to be accepted. Cooperation at various levels. You cannot de-link these countries, but you can mitigate the impact of this nexus by managing the western side of the border better. For example, we restored ceasefire, etc. Leverage Pakistan's growing compulsions, internal compulsions to do that. They would at least tactically be interested in calming things down with you. Diplomacy certainly has a role. I don't think diplomats and people who might try have the choice to sit back and say, just because it's a difficult relationship, we leave it entirely to our security people. Diplomats do not give up until a situation goes to a war. It's only then that they hand it over yes, we need some new thinking. I'm not here to promote my book, but if you read that book, that gives some of these ideas a more balanced approach, rather than saying only security or just people to people, etc. It's to put those things together and then answer. Balkanization, I don't believe it's going to happen anytime soon, so long as the Pakistan army remains a largely disciplined professional force, which it remains. No major country has shown an interest in Balkanization of Pakistan, but a lot of internal turmoil, a lot of instability in Pakistan we can expect that.
Is Pakistan a failed state, a failing state, or as Stephen Cohen had said, a flailing state? I don't think it's a failed state. It will survive, and you can call it failing state or very bad economy, this, that, and the other. So I think we need to prepare ourselves more, as the ambassador said, and I'd like to highlight it, and I hope the armed forces and the country are alive to this threat. We have a very viable, credible two-front threat. Let there be no doubt on it. And we'll have to, find resources to ensure that we are adequately equipped, all constituents of comprehensive national power, to militarily take on a two-front threat. However, there is no harm, and as India, we are a large country, a mature country, ancient country, and all that, and so we must try and improve the behavior of the entire South Asian small countries, including of Pakistan. the thing is, we have, most of us, perhaps including especially General Mehta, a romantic notion of Pakistan and things like that, me too included. But having said that, that should not take us away from reality. That should not take us away from reality.
Shalini, at least 1 minute for me, and that question which remained unanswered about POK, I think it's a very good question. It's a rhetorical question, and our generals, I regretfully must mention, say कि हमें हुक्म चाहिए. Now, it's not a doable deal. I mean, it's war, and we can't be that stupid. But sometimes, in the rhetoric of elections in Rajasthan, a former army chief and the defense minister made those statements. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much for your keen participation. I'm sure you will show your appreciation for my great panel in the usual manner. And our next on 22nd of December, looking at the elections in Bangladesh. Drive safely. Till next time, goodbye and namaskar. 8 o'clock.